Welcome to a week in the life as an OHAZ student field technician. This week, me, Karlee, Sydney, and Sara packed the Ranger and the flatbed and headed out to Eastern Oregon to install a new seismic monitoring site near John Day. Karlee and I had never been this far east, so we made a quick pit stop at the John Day fossil beds to learn the area's geologic history and stretch our legs. By the time we got to our Airbnb, it was already the evening, so we went over tomorrow's game plan, said hello to the wild quails, and called it a night. We started the next morning bright and early by fueling up and getting the excavator we would use to dig a trench for our conduit line. Sara got a quick rundown of how the trailer worked, and we were off. When we got there, it was clear the excavator was the best choice to get this job done. There were tons of smaller surface rocks, but the biggest challenge was the large rocks under the dirt. It was about 30 feet from where our site needed to connect to power and the internet to send the seismic data back to OHAZ. Typically, we don't use excavators, but due to our site's location and the sheer amount of rocks we would have to dig through, Sara decided this would help cut down on time. The morning flew by as we helped Sara navigate the excavator to dig out the conduit line. We took a quick lunch break where I enjoyed a lovely sandwich and took in the views of the Strawberry Mountains. We were back to work. The excavator was a huge help, but there were areas near the site and communication shelter where we couldn't use it due to its proximity to the structures. So Karlee and I broke out the pickaxes and dug through some of the rocks. Karlee is a pickaxe and breaker bar rock star. Now that the trench was complete, we connected all of the conduit lines that our cables would run through. We completed everything on today's agenda, so we had to get a picture for the inaugural use of an excavator for an OHAZ seismic site. We made the journey back to John Day and our Airbnb, where tonight's special guests were a group of stags. The next morning, we headed back out to the site. Karlee and I put on our landscape architecture hats and covered the conduit line with the rocks the excavator had moved the day before. Since all of the digging was done, we were able to start helping with the electrical work necessary to get the site online. We took a quick lunch and jig break. It was finally time. I helped Sydney lower the sensor into its new 8-foot deep home. The sensor needed to face true north, so Sara taught Karlee and I how to use a Brunton, a geologist's favorite compass, to make sure it was within 3 degrees. We powered up the station to make sure everything was working, and I did the very scientific stomp test. From the back end, we could see that all of my stomps were recorded. Everything was looking good for the sensor. One of the last steps is filling the sensor's new home with aluminum oxide to prevent it from moving or falling over. The last and most important step was to put the PNS sticker on the site, reminding people not to disturb the delicate equipment. With that, the site was complete. We packed up our equipment, were graciously given some apple juice from Sydney, and headed back to John Day. Our trip's third and final evening guest was a cute neighborhood cat. The next morning, we headed back out west. This time, we made a quick pit stop at the Painted Hills before returning to Eugene to unload the equipment. And that was my week. There's so much more that goes into a seismic install, but I'm happy I could share with you the parts that I was able to help with.